So you guys, here we go. Just be yourself and just talk to me.
Okay.
Don't even worry about that. I'll say hello to everyone here. Get the show on the road. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us on Morning Line. Nick Barris here on a Monday. I do indeed hope you had a very pleasant weekend, and let's get the week off to a good start with, as usual, on Monday, a really good show on the program. Of course, over the past several weeks, the Occupy movements have made headlines across the country, including here in Nashville. And we thought it's high time here on Morning Line we get some answers directly from those involved in this and give you a chance to ask some questions, because the fact is, just last night, as cold as it may have gotten, there were a group of folks camping out there at Legislative Plaza with Occupy Nashville. And we have two that have participated. I don't know that they spent the night all night. One of them did last night, but two that have been out there from pretty much the beginning joining us this morning. Let me introduce two members of Occupy Nashville with us this morning. Ron White, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Nice to have you on. You did spend the night out there last night, huh?
I did.
It's nice and warm in here, huh?
It's great. I love being in here. So.
Well, thank you for coming on, Ron. It's nice to have you. And also, Dorsey Molina, good morning to you.
Thank you.
Thank you both for coming on today.
We're glad to be here.
Listen, we're going to take phone calls, 737-7587. I know there are people out there with opinions, questions, and thoughts, but I want to start by giving you each a chance first. I guess a little bit of background on each of you so folks know where you're coming from. I think, Ron, you told me when you sat down, currently right now you're unemployed. You became involved with Occupy Nashville pretty much at the beginning, and you were in that original group of individuals that were arrested, correct?
I wasn't there for the beginning, but I've been there since the arrest.
Okay.
And after the arrest, I've been nothing but dedicated to the movement.
And you had been following it prior to that, and what was going on around the country?
Yeah, I was following the Occupy movements in Boston, New York, Oakland, and like I said, the last straw for me was Scott Olson in Oakland, the Iraq veteran.
Yeah, who was injured.
Once I saw that, I knew I just couldn't sit around anymore. I had to get involved.
Okay, so you've been out with it since then, spent the night last night. Dorsey, you have been with it as well, and you're doing a lot behind the scenes as well with this, but what was it that grabbed you?
I think what piqued my interest is I've been watching, as not only my friends and people that I know, but how things have been going downhill in America since the debacle, the Wall Street debacle, and nobody's been held accountable for that. I've also known some veterans that have come back from the war and not been able to get the support they need, even though we have these wonderful commercials showing that we're supporting them, and been doing some volunteer work. And so when I heard that there was an Occupy movement starting here in Nashville, I got involved.
How about this? Let's just try, and I'm sure we'll probably get a few calls on this. You said disappointed with the direction the country's going. I think there's some folks out there, and most people, I think, recognize your right to peacefully assemble and do this, all right? But the question is, what exactly do you really stand for? I think I have a kind of a handle on it, even though I hear different things. What do you really stand for? What do you think the Occupy movement's all about? And ultimately, what kind of results do you hope it brings?
Well, for me, right now, there are a lot of people that are wanting us right now to say who the leader is and what our goals are. And I think part of what Wall Street is about, Occupy Wall Street, which we are in solidarity with here in Nashville, is the three different platforms that we have right now. And one is people before profit. And the other is get corporate personhood, do away with corporate personhood, which means that corporations now can contribute untold amounts of money to campaigns, political campaigns, and we want the money out of politics. We're tired of, you know, as an individual, I can, or you can, give $2,000 to a political campaign. And with the Citizens United ruling with the Supreme Court, which gave corporations the same value as people, individuals, that really kind of, we feel like that's a travesty, that corporations that never die and don't, you know, can accumulate large sums of money and basically pick who they want or select who they want to become president. You know, just like last year alone, $5 billion in lobbying went on in Washington.
So you're talking about campaign finance reform?
Well, that, and not only that, but the legislation that's going through. Look at what's going on in Washington. There's a stalemate while people are starving in this country.
Okay, so you get out there and it brings attention to some of these ideas, and that's pretty much, I think most people have a general idea. You're frustrated with what was happening with the banks and the bailouts and the big money and, you know, the 99% out there, okay? And I understand that. So are you hopeful then, Ron, that this is going to bring change in the form that it gets people's attention, and when they vote, They're going to be voting for candidates that, are going to be supportive. I mean, where's the change going to come? You can camp out all you want, but what's the result going to be?
Yeah, we're definitely hoping that it brings the attention, especially to the campaign. If we stay here long enough, it's going to become a campaign issue.
Okay.
There's no way you're going to be able to avoid it. And we just really hope that we get the money out of our politics and that, we get it open so that the people can see what companies are backing what politicians. So that way we know when they're making these laws, are they making it in the interest of the people, or are they making it in the interest of the companies?
Gotcha. How long are you willing to go with this? I mean, how long will Occupy continue? I mean, when
we're not going anywhere. I mean, the people that are on the plaza and that are occupying, that's one branch of who we are. There are hundreds behind the scene working on this that are committed.
Okay.
People talk about this all the time. Well, it is the way it is. We forget in this country that it was religious freedoms and people fighting for their rights that created this country. And, we are hoping with Occupy Nashville, and not only the people that are united with us here in the United States, but around the world, that the people's voice will become what changes the course of politics in this country. Although I will say this, we're non-political. In other words, we're not Democrat, we're not Republican, we're not Libertarian, we're not Tea Party people, but we have those elements in our movement.
Okay, so it's nonpartisan. That's kind of what I suspected to some degree. Now let me ask you this. Why do you think the governor moved to have you arrested and removed?
Do you want to comment on that first? I know that I've got a lot to say about that.
I'm just wondering why you think. I mean, we've heard what he has said, safety, security issues.
Well, I was in that first
issues.
meeting that we called, Occupy Nashville called with the state because of our concerns for our own safety, and not only our own safety, but people who were using the plaza to walk back from Tennessee TPAC.
Right.
And what we saw is that in the first weeks that we were on Legislative Plaza, there was a foot patrol, Tennessee Highway Foot Patrol that was present. The last 10 days that we were there, that foot patrol was absent. And we started watching an element of homeless people, although we are not against homeless people, flood into the plaza, and public drunkenness. There were fights. We were calling 911. I myself let somebody use my BlackBerry to call 911 when two homeless people got into a fight. One was bleeding pretty bad. There was no response from 911. It concerned us that as taxpayers, the people, not only ourselves were in danger, but the people walking from TPAC as a cut-through through Legislative Plaza. So we contacted the Tennessee Highway Patrol, Commissioner Cates, to set up a meeting. And at that meeting, we were informed that we not the homeless elements, had been doing things that like urinating in public, defecating in public, were even accused of having sex in public, which is unbelievable to me. And every time that was brought up in that meeting, I raised my hand to deny those accusations. But it's still going on today from the commissioner's offices that's happening. And I would like to go on record and say that is not Occupy Nashville. It never has been Occupy Nashville. We have a code of conduct, and we have tried to deal with the elements that we were left to deal with on our own the best we know how, and it was just not tenable anymore, and that's why we called the meeting.
Yeah, I wonder sometimes too, as we followed this, the news media, when you originally went out there, we covered it a bit, and then frankly it was fading away.
Right.
I mean, it was still happening. And then when they went and arrested you, talk about galvanizing a movement. What a boneheaded move. Now, I mean, who knows what the motivations were, but I can tell you right now, if they could go back, I don't think they'd do that again. Because now that certainly, these videos here, and no one was there. It was peaceful. You guys went and they took you peacefully. But since then, what after that happened, Ron, and you were one of them arrested that first night, did you just notice all of a sudden just a real spike in the attention, not just from the media, but other people coming to your defense because of the whole free speech issue and all of that?
Definitely. I mean, when I got arrested, I wasn't expecting to be on national, international news. I was expecting a little local coverage, but ever since then, the support has been tremendous. It grows each day.
And the THP has backed off now, right? There have not been any arrests really since those first couple of nights.
Right. And then the other thing is that First Amendment rights are in Americans' blood. You take their right to free speech, and you've got a battle. And it was like, that's what happened.
Yeah.
And people galvanized around the movement. And not only that, they're still coming. The numbers are growing. Our GAs, our General Assemblies are growing. People have become more involved. And like Ron was saying, we didn't only get coverage here in Nashville. We got overseas coverage about this. Like, how could this happen here in America?
So in a way, I'm sure it wasn't fun being arrested, but in the back of your mind, you had to know. Maybe you didn't realize it was going to be as big as it was. That, boy, this is going to backfire on them.
Yeah, I knew once they put the cuffs on me that I was part of something special. You know, and it doesn't just happen in Nashville. It's happened everywhere.
Well, right.
Once they arrest, the numbers grow. They help the movement. You know, because then people realize what the movement is all about. They want to come join us.
All right, we're going to take a break on that note. When we come back, we'll get more into the details of the movement. We can talk about, you know, some of the other folks than some of the other things you've done, because you're outside NES, right? And some of that, and we talk about the homeless aspect, and we'll take phone calls. The number 737-7587. We've got some calls in here now, but we've got a couple lines open. If you have a question for two members of Occupy Nashville, here's your chance to ask, see what they have to say. We'll be back more right after this.
They were urinating and defecating, and it's like,
It's
dude,
slander.
come on. And then we had to do a press release.
And
they said,
slander.
Dorsey, you just don't call him a liar.
Now, here's the thing. If deep down you're thinking it is nonpartisan, which I think certainly Tea Party folks, you know, and Democrats. Republicans can all have, you know, can say, look, we're tired of what's happening with this money. But I'm just guessing, if you're saying, you know, they're trying to put what the homeless are doing behind the scenes on you guys. So the real movement is they just don't like it because big money doesn't like it, you think? And they're just
That's
trying
what we
to,
think. And also, this is off the record. This is off the record.
Remember, okay, go ahead.
But the big gala was there with, you know, Mr. Welsh, and we were thinking because that was happening that they just wanted us out of sight.
Who knows?
You know, but after the arrest, we came back and we had one of the biggest GAs, and it went on in conjunction with the gala.
Yeah, that's right. And then you had those Vandy students come out.
Yeah, that was a cool
was
experience.
And
We had a great
we did on it. It worked out. You know,
Yeah.
you just never know. And then ultimately, it started up a little bit heated, maybe, and then in the end, everyone
Well, we
had
clapped as they came up because we were.
And they didn't know how to react. I was standing on the corner when they were on their way up there, and I heard the chant. I was like, "Oh, here they come."
They had just like you may have not
They had a
agreed.
reason to be
You had
there,
every right
and we
to-
were glad that we fought for their First Amendment
I
rights
just think
to be.
that's so cool. That's what I love about this. Whether I agree or disagree.
Right.
you have
I
every
mean,
right.
we're nonviolent, and you know, and that's what you know. There are a lot of things that I hear on the social media, like. You know, and it's like, really think for yourself, people. Get involved. Come down and see for yourself.
Yeah.
You know, because it's not like that people are trying to cast these movements. It's really an interesting, a bunch of people. It's well, I'd say it's the biggest social experiment the world's ever seen.
Anything happening tonight or today? You guys
just a GA at 7 o'clock. Planning. We have a GA every night, which is the
GA is
General Assembly.
Okay.
And then we have working groups that get together and work on issues.
Okay.
You know, we've got how many working groups going now? 15 to 20.
People still bringing out food to you and things
people
like that.
bringing out,
I mean,
calling. You know, people
coffee,
delivering
food.
tents, people delivering sleeping bags, pizza.
People
I mean,
online.
And then you
ordering
guys try to do as best you can to make sure the garbage is dealt with.
Oh
properly.
yes, we're on top of that. We even have
Well, you
recycling.
know, because any slip up on that gives them an opening.
Oh,
so
right.
as long as you're peaceful and keeping it clean and not violent,
It's
and
always
drunk,
been, we've always taken care of our own garbage. Again, you know, we've been really vigilant about that. You know, from
that's smart.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. You guys, we got to take some calls too. 7 seconds, and we've got a few to take here. Welcome back, everyone, to Morning Line. This morning, we're talking with two members of the Occupy Nashville movement. Good to have them on with us this morning. Ron White is here, along with Dorsey Molina. Thanks, both of you, for being here. We've got one line open, 737-7587. And before we get to our first line of calls, just want to say, the group of you that are out there, it grows, but you're getting a warm reception from some in terms of, I mean, food still coming out to you,
food and
pizzas.
supplies, pizzas, sleeping bags, tents. We have people that deliver cookies, blankets, people that are in support. Again, you know, not necessarily, you don't have to be on the plaza sleeping there, but that you can, you know, small things help Occupy Nashville. You know, water, things of that sort. And we really are thankful for the people of Nashville supporting Occupy Nashville.
And you are saying you're doing a vigilant job of making sure that the pizza boxes aren't strewn around, that there is...
We actually recycle the pizza boxes for signs.
Okay, good, for signs. That's a good idea. Let me ask you this. Where do you go to the bathroom?
We have 2 porta potties on site, and before they were delivered, we had a couple of businesses that were in support of Occupy Nashville. Again, those issues of sanitation and garbage are not issues of Occupy Nashville. We have always tried to take care of our public spaces. And I'm a non-smoker. I even pick up other people's cigarettes butts. You know, that's just the way we do it.
Well, in that area, as I think you both discovered, you know, before you even arrived, there is a homeless issue.
There is.
And that sometimes happens. But I also know that you both know that if you slip up and you start leaving trash or it gets messy, that gives the opening. Because that's the thing. You have every right to free speech. But if you start vandalizing or damaging legislative play, I don't have problems with cops going in there and arresting you.
I don't either.
If you start breaking the law.
I don't either.
But peacefully and keeping it clean, you have every right to be there.
Right, and I never had a problem with the police coming to answer our calls to arrest people that were the problem. That's why we called the first meeting with the state.
Let's take a few phone calls for you. We'll start things off this morning with Margaret. Good morning, Margaret.
Good morning, and I just want to tell them that I believe in their cause. It's time that people stood up in America. What is going on in our country is just really, really not good. The corporation in California, the big solar company that went bankrupt and billions of money, of taxpayers' money funded it and gone, and the corporations that aren't paying any taxes at all because of the sweet loopholes that they can get by with. I saw a CNN special about that where some of these huge companies that are filthy, just rolling in the money, weren't paying any taxes whatsoever.
Right.
And then the banks trying to charge people that extra fee when it's a time in this country that people don't have jobs. Their savings are gone. They're unemployed. They're, you know, looking at churches to help them with their food bills, electric bills, and this thing with NES. It shows that the rich are just very greedy and that the politicians are bought and paid for. And I've gotten just so disgusted that I don't even feel like my vote counts for anything anymore, that it's being bought for. But thank you all for your calls and keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about.
Yeah, people
That's why we're there. That's why we're there.
I actually had a school teacher walk up to me after TPAC, and she was like, "Are you Occupy?" And I introduced myself, and she said, "Thank you so much." She's seen what the businesses have done to teachers over the years, and she said, quite frankly, she's sick and tired of it. She wants her voice back, and that's what this movement is about, giving the people their voice back.
That's right.
Let's go next to Tommy. Tommy, good morning.
Good morning, Nick. Good morning
Tommy.
to your guest, and I wished I could be down there with them, but I've got an elderly mother, and I don't want to run the risk of her only caregiver being arrested and her health and welfare be at jeopardy. So give me a minute, and what I've got to say is very important, because when President Obama was elected, I thought that he was a constitutional professor, and evidently he forgot about the Constitution once he was elected. And I know the media and everybody wants to say that the most important job of the president is protecting the people. Well, yeah, that's true, but his only job, according to the Constitution, is protecting the Constitution. Okay? And when we let people that profit off of war get away with it, when we let people commit fraud on Wall Street get away with it, when we do all these things and let people get away with it, we let police get away with the abuse, when they should be the ones that should be knowing the Constitution better than anyone, and being able to say, no, the legislature, you've gone too far. We know what the Constitution is, and this is a step too far.
All right,
well, and that's exactly what we're talking about. When did this nation become in greed we trust instead of, you know, and that's what we're out there at Occupy Nashville. Enough is enough. Many people feel like there's a boot on their throat. You know, whether you're an Iraqi veteran, Afghanistan veteran, Vietnam veteran, the way these people have been treated, and the millions and millions of dollars big companies have made off this war. Then healthcare, look at that again. I mean, it's like there's no longer, in order to be honest, if we're truly honest, what we should do is put the presidential candidates in a room and let the corporations select them, because the people don't have the power anymore.
Do you think Occupy Nashville, since we're coming up on a big election year, I mean, will you have candidates running on an Occupy Nashville or Occupy platform?
Who knows at this point?
I mean, that's where you want that leadership coming.
And again, you know, what says that right now? I mean, that's a possibility, but it's not being talked about right now. Okay. One of the things that's being floated in the Occupy movement is a convention next year, and so that's just being floated. There's a lot of possibilities that could come out of this. But you know, the woman was mentioning the debit cards and the $5 charge to use our own money. We definitely believe that Occupy Nashville had a part in playing, getting that reversed. We definitely have a voice, and we're not going anywhere.
Let's take a call next from Joe. Joe, good morning.
Good morning, Nick.
Hey, Joe.
These people seem to be right on what they're protesting about. It seems like that if you'd watched 60 Minutes last night, you would have got a good idea of what's going on in Washington. This guy was a lobbyist, and he'd tell you right quick that you know Congress is bought every year by lobbyists. They put these bills forward, and they put such vague language in them that congressmen that vote on them don't even know what they're voting on. It seems like the biggest crooks in the United States right now are wearing suits and ties in Washington, and we've even got a small scale of it going on here in Nashville, according to Phil Williams. So I don't know what the answer is, but it seems like the morals of the American people, and even bigger the politicians in the government, have this. I don't guess the people have any morals. Really, it's all about the dollar. You said it before, Nick, and you and I agree on this.
Yeah.
All about the money.
Yep.
That's the bottom line.
Hey, thank you, Joe. You're right. It's about.
And that's why one of the platforms that we're in solidarity with Occupy Wall Street is people before profits. I mean, you can even see it when you talk to, I know people that have PhDs that are working at minimum wage jobs because they cannot find a job in their field, and they can't even get health care because the big corporations have now limited people to not working full time so they can get around health care. And my question is, how much is enough? You know, what are you going to do when you get it all? And I don't even think it's now about the money as much as it is power. You know, how much power do you need? How much money can power buy? And the gentleman talking about the lobbyists, $5 billion.
Yeah.
You know, and I know I'm not part of that $5 billion.
Right. No, me either. I mean, $5 billion. And the chasm between the haves and have-nots.
That's right.
Just, you know, we've seen the recent poverty report. More Americans than ever before, extreme poverty, living at 50% below the poverty line. 2
million children last night went to sleep hungry in this country, but, you know.
And see, that's where I wonder if these Occupy movements are just the subtle beginning of something that will really take hold to some degree and get people really angry.
Yeah,
well, one of the signs I've seen is the beginning is near. And I definitely agree with that. The beginning is definitely near.
All right, we'll take a break on that note. When we come back, more of your phone calls. We've got a couple lines open, 737-7587. If you're on hold, stay there. We'll get to you more talking Occupy Nashville right after this.
Than are against us. There was a woman last night that walked up on the plaza when we were having a meeting, and she was going to TPAC, and she stopped, nicely dressed. She said, "I just want to tell you I believe in you guys, and I wish I could be here."
I can't tell you how many people just walked up and said, "I can't be here, but I thank you so much." I'm like, you don't have to be here. You're support.
That's right. That's right.
As long as you support us.
Support that. Let me get your numbers. Ron, what's your cell phone?
779
779
46
46
35.
35. And how about you, Dorsey?
429
429
64
64
99.
So I guess you guys will be part of it. Now I've met you and know you. And things come up
Well,
where I
they
need to
will.
get some information quickly or whatever, I want to
Yeah.
make sure to be able to reach you guys.
Definitely,
So you can give me the lowdown. I'll be glad to be an ear for you. And you
Yeah,
can always
and
call
I
over
have
here.
to say that we're really appreciative of the media has just
Exactly.
getting the
The
truth
media is
out, just
definitely-
getting the
Yeah,
truth
we
out.
just want to be there. We don't have an agenda. You know,
Yeah,
I
it's n-
support everyone's right to free speech,
Right.
but the reasoning, we just want to cover what happens.
Right.
And I have not seen any of the evidence they're talking about of the feces and the urination and all this stuff, you know. We're just out there each day covering. We'll hear what the state says. We'll hear what you have to say. But I think the media is I don't know, without going in without an agenda, hopefully we lay it out there for the public to see and they can decide for themselves.
That's all we want.
Yeah.
Well, and I've noticed that a lot of local journalists have been doing true journalism,
Yeah.
and that's reporting the facts.
Yeah, just what we
You know.
see. That's all we can do. And that fellow with the scene that was arrested,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, Jonathan.
Yeah, I talked to him for about a half an hour the day before he got arrested, and he was trying to get some information from the state. And
Yeah.
he said it was about why the highway patrolman had disappeared. And he said it was the first time he'd ever asked for a request and had difficulty in getting it.
Yeah, that's interesting. I was wondering, we're getting calls, but I was wondering if we may get one or two from people that disagree. but
We
haven't
talked
heard
to
that,
them
and
too.
that's
They're
fine.
welcome.
Here we go. We are back on Morning Line. Thanks for joining us. Nick Barris here talking, as you see on the screen there, the Occupy Nashville movement. Our guests with us this morning, Ron White, Dorsey Molina, both members of that group. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
Got some more phone calls. Let's get back into them. We'll go next to Chip. Chip, good morning.
Good morning.
Hi, Chip. Go ahead.
You know how I feel about these people. I think they're great
Yeah.
because I'm handicapped, but I take on the government. Don't tell me you can't take on City Hall because I've taken it on many times, and I've had the government even help me get things done that I needed done, including getting a wheelchair fixed and a lift chair fixed, and the company didn't want to do it.
Yeah. So you would say just never give up because, you fought it all along, right?
I've been fighting it for years.
Yeah. Yeah. Chip's
You
been there.
can't give up. But I'm going to tell you what I see coming in this country. What I really see coming in this country is a revolution.
It's funny, Chip. I'm glad you mentioned that because I talk about how the beginning of this, as the chasm gets larger and larger. And I don't like to think of any kind of bloody revolutionary war or something like that, but I mean the have-nots so far outweigh the haves in this country. At what point are they going to just realize we really do have all the power? You may have all the money, but people are power.
That's right.
And then how will that translate? You just wonder.
Well,
And it's-
in Occupy Nashville and Occupy Wall Street, we are a nonviolent movement. We're not advocating in any way, but Chip makes a good point, and we do have people in our movement who are on plaza at times in wheelchairs and are disabled and are there because they realize how important it is for them to have a voice. But revolution is not necessarily a bad thing. Look at the American Revolution, for God's sakes. So revolution, we're scared of change, but what we know to be true is that change has to come now.
Yeah.
We cannot go on like we're going now. And with, President Obama, the change you wish to see, a lot of us are disappointed in politicians across the board, and we're not as gullible as we've been in the past. We don't believe the sound bites anymore. It's the action that counts, and we've gotten nothing. So whether it be a Republican or a Democrat or Libertarian or Tea Party person, it's like, it's not about telling the American people what they want to hear anymore. It's about we need to see action. And that's what we're advocating for now.
Let's go next to Charlie. Charlie, good morning.
Good morning.
Hi.
Just a quick question, I guess. Evidently, the dear old America has run aground. So in this age of stealing someone else's idea, I guess the question is, well, who has it right? Is there a country that has that's already out front and is doing something about this, or what's the model we're shooting for? Who has done it right?
Well, that's a good question. Maybe nobody's done it right lately. We're hearing from Europe and other places. I heard today that Italy is now in financial trouble. And, we didn't get here overnight, and we're not going to get out of it overnight, but maybe we need some new ways of thinking. And I want to be clear, America is a great country. The people in America are great people. and it can be righted. This ship that's kind of, it can be righted, but we need new thoughts and new ways of doing things, innovation, thinkers that think outside the box. The perversion of the democracy in America did not happen overnight, and I truly mean that. This is a sick system that we've got now. It's broken, it's rotten all the way through. So how that comes about, Occupy Wall Street and Occupy Nashville and the movements around the country will be part of the solution. We're just not clear right now what direction we're going in. People fault us for that, but we're only a movement that's a couple of months old.
That's a good point. Let's go next to Jerry. Jerry, good morning.
Good morning.
Hi, Jerry. Go ahead.
I'd like to make a statement about a bank.
Okay.
They are thieves without a gun. It's a bank here in Shelbyville called U.S. Bank. My wife, she made a small deposit in a savings account, and she kept it in there a little less than a month. And when she went to draw her money out, they took 25% of the savings that she had put in there.
Right.
And that's the reason these daggum CEOs and all of that, they get these big bonuses, and how these big bonuses paid for, they stealing the little people's money.
Yeah, I'd say, well, that's an example. I mean, they're going to find a way to get you one way or the other, but the way things worked out with the fees on the ATM cards, and, our company as large as Bank of America rescinded that and went back because enough people said, to heck with you, I'm moving on to these smaller banks that don't charge fees. It got their attention.
It got their attention, but that's not enough.
Yeah.
We've got people sitting in places of power on Wall Street right now that looted and plundered this country into oblivion. Not only did it affect us, but the world, and they're still getting rewarded for being thieves.
Exactly.
You wouldn't be able to get away with that.
No,
I wouldn't be able to get away with that, but yet Jamie Dimon is walking around and still getting bonuses, and it's going to happen again. Enough is not enough. It's like a cancer. They will continue until they get every penny that they can.
And they get these bonuses while they're cutting other jobs.
Right. That's
it's ridiculous.
They're making these massive profits and not reinvesting it into jobs.
That's right.
And they're pocketing it because they've learned how to work on a leaner, meaner attitude. But then there's people that need jobs, the growth is not happening, and that's why they need to get whipped into shape. How about that? Let's go to Adele. Adele, good morning.
Morning.
Hi, Adele. Go ahead.
First of all, I wish I could be down there with them. I'm 77 years old. If I in very bad health, but I am so proud. I'm so proud of these two in front of me. First of all, I agree with everything they say, and it's like the corporations. Who needs to make $350,000 a year to live on? I watch where they buy these 3 football fields yards of yachts. And these people don't want to put in and pay taxes, so what they do is buy up all these homes, extra homes, in this country, that country, and not pay taxes. So that's so bad. It's so bad. And our country has gotten to the point where it's so greedy, they want to squash you like a bug. They take every penny they can get. And I'm going to give a name here because I already called higher authorities. So far, I haven't heard a thing about it. But AT&T sent me on my statement saying that they charging me $1 for long-distance calls. I don't make long-distance calls because I don't have anybody to make long-distance calls to.
That could be, well, now that could be a clerical error. That could be any number of things. I look at I have AT&T, and sometimes you have to go through it and figure out what's right and what's not. Most of the time, I don't understand what this is.
Right.
But with her, I mean, there's support like that out there. People seeing all these things happening, and then I guess you must feel a little source of pride knowing that someone like that, you're kind of carrying the flag for her.
Carrying the flag for her, and she says she wished she could be there. Well, she is there. We are representing people like that. That's why we're there, and we're committed. The stories that we hear are just amazing. You know, people who've done everything right, worked hard all their lives, lost their job at 60, you know, and now what? Go back and get another job when there are no jobs.
Yeah.
You know, so we're committed. We're committed to people like her and people like Chip, and we're committed to stay there, you know.
And so it ultimately is that you hope to see change whereby the system we live under provides more opportunity for jobs and a living wage. Is that at the heart of it?
People before profits.
People before profits. Okay, and so, because see, that's the thing. I mean, this is America. It's a capitalistic system. And you know what? If you have a great idea and you can make $1 million, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. So,
there's more power to
so
you.
You're not against wealth necessarily. What you're against is some of the crazy things where these people who have never created a thing or some CEO getting, and she said 350,000. I'm telling you, Adele. That's chump change.
That's right.
Compared to what some of these executives are making. We're talking millions, right?
Well, NES. Look at the head of NES who came down to our Occupy movement because there was going to be a march on NES, and Phil Williams reported on it about what was going on with them. And, you know, how can that happen when somebody gets their lights cut off in the dead of winter, you know, because they're struggling? So, I mean, when we say people before profit, we're not against entrepreneurship and making money, but don't, you know, close the loopholes.
Right.
You know, pay your way.
Well, what that NES thing was too, and here's some video of that from the day you guys went marching out there, was, you know, Phil's piece is indicative of the attitude, okay? The big picture, the money, it wasn't millions that we're talking about, but Phil dug up, you know, that the funds were used to pay for like $500 hotel stays or $2,500 day conferences, expensive meals, and things like that.
Right.
Okay, and, you know, maybe in the scheme of things that adds up to a few $1,000s, but to me that's just the attitude that these people have of, you know, so we had to cut off some 80-year-old's electricity last week. Let's order that double age stay.
They act like it's a right. It's not a right.
It's not their money either.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, that's what's irritating.
Entitlement is what I think.
Yeah, they act
that's
entitled.
The word.
And just, you know, don't forget who you work for or what you work for.
You travel on the same roads that we travel on. You use the same, you know, things in this country, but yet you feel like you're entitled to not have to pay as much tax. You know, close the loopholes. Get the corporations to pay their fair share. You know, and let's go on with it. That's what we're against, is treating them privileged, like they're privileged because they, quote, stole money or they make so much money. No, people before profits.
Margaret, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for taking my call.
Sure.
Our governor has voiced his concerns on safety, sanitation, and cost. I'd like to comment on the cost issue. About 6 weeks ago, there was an article in the Tennessean regarding, I believe it's our state comptroller, Justin Wilson, who has discovered that there's about $140 million in state tax revenue that's owed the Department of Revenue by state-chartered corporations. And he's willing to forgive that, and that's apparently okay with our governor. And it's being forgiven, and we're not even allowed to know the names of the corporations that are back in their state taxes. And the part that I found was really interesting to me is that information is confidential, and the word confidential was listed in the article. And it also said that there are 7 corporations that owe the state of Tennessee in excess of $1 million. Well, I can't read between the lines, but I would guess that a couple of those 7 probably owe 10 or 20 million in back taxes. So if this is okay to forgive $140 million in back state taxes, I wonder why cost of cleaning some beautiful hard surface at Legislative Plaza is of concern, because it can't be that expensive to keep Legislative Plaza clean in order to give us our constitutional rights.
That's an excellent point, isn't
Right,
it?
and I would just like to comment on the sanitation issue. The cleaning that went on, or the power washing that I have seen, happened the Thursday before the gala was supposed to be there on Saturday night. This issue of us, of Occupy Nashville as the commissioners, and I quote, defecating and urinating in public, I would like to say that Occupy Nashville did not do that, and the cost they speak of is not Occupy Nashville. And I would counter with, Governor, how much did it cost to send all those state troopers in there with all those buses and things to arrest people that night? nowhere. That power washing that you did on the plaza came nowhere, and it was not you were not doing that to render the plaza clean because we had misused it. How much did that cost the state of Tennessee, those 2 nights of raids? We'd like to know that.
And then the ridiculous part of that is the magistrate here in Metro just said,
no probable cause.
No probable cause.
Two nights in a row. No probable cause, and that did not sit well, I'm sure.
No, you just wonder how much thought went into that.
And a lot